You ever notice how people talk about the American dream like it's a bedtime story? Something wise parents once told their kids, and now when the lights go down, the kids ask, was that even true? It used to be simple. Work hard, get steady pay, buy a house, raise a family. Today it's more like, work hard, survive the bills, maybe get promoted if you're lucky. The dream feels less like a path and more like a memory. There was a time when that dream seemed real for a lot of people. After World War II, millions used the GI Bill to buy homes and go to college. Factories hummed. Middle-class neighborhoods sprouted. That era built a sense of upward mobility people could point to and say, see? That's what this country does. Let me hit you with something that sounds insane when you put it next to each other. In 1980, median new home prices were often reported in the tens of thousands. Many sources list median house prices around $60,000 for new homes that year, depending on the data set. And household incomes were much lower by today's nominal numbers, but the ratio made houses attainable. Today, median home values in the U.S. are in the hundreds of thousands, often listed around the low to mid $300,000 to $400,000, depending on the index. That shift changed everything for the average family. And it's not just housing. Productivity, the amount each worker produces, has climbed dramatically since the late 1970s. But typical workers' pay hasn't kept up. In plain terms, the economy has gotten better at making money, but regular people haven't seen the benefit in their paychecks the way earlier generations did. That gap between productivity and pay is one of the structural reasons the dream frays. College used to be the ladder. Now it's a bill you carry. Average student loan balances are tens of thousands of dollars per borrower, a burden that can sit on a person for years, interfering with everything from buying a home to starting a family. When your 20s are spent paying off last decade's tuition, saving for a house feels impossible. I want to be emotional and factual at the same time, because both matter. Facts explain the mechanics. Emotion explains the human cost. Right now, a huge share of Americans would choke if they had to cover a $1,000 emergency out of pocket. Nearly 6 in 10 people report they don't have enough to cover basic emergencies. That's not a stat, that's a reality. People one paycheck away from disaster.
So how did we get here? There are quick answers and slow answers. The quick one is policy choices, corporate behavior, globalization, and technology. The slow one is 5 decades of slow shifts that stacked on each other. Laws changed, unions weakened, tax codes altered incentives, and capital concentrated. The old social contract, where work reliably meant stability, frayed. It didn't snap. It was gently, quietly undone. And while those structural shifts happened, something else grew: the expectation machine. Advertising, credit, and culture told us success looked a certain way: a big house, 2 cars, carefully curated lives. A generation raised on that image now finds the reality doesn't match the billboard. It's a painful cognitive gap. Live by advertising, survive by debt. All of this changed how people measure success. For older generations, success might have been steady employment and home ownership. For many younger people now, success looks like flexibility, control over time, and meaningful work. That sounds noble, and it is, but it's also a reaction to a system that no longer guarantees the old paths. When the paths close, people redefine goals, sometimes by necessity, sometimes by choice. There's also geography in play. Some places thrived, tech cities, coasts drawing investment, while many industrial towns hollowed out. That uneven development created cultural and economic fault lines. In places where the factory closed, opportunity narrowed. People felt left behind, and that feeling fuels anger and political change. In thriving places, people experience abundance and worry about different things: housing scarcity, commuting, and competition. Two Americas, different everyday problems. Now, let me be honest about the narrative. Plenty of people will say the American dream was always a myth, a story sold to keep people hopeful. And there's truth to the idea that not everyone always had access. But there was also a period where broad-based prosperity expanded. Higher unionization, progressive taxes funding public goods, investments in education and infrastructure. Those structural supports mattered. When they weakened, inequality rose. That's a real, measurable shift. What does that mean for your life? For most people, it means recalibration. You might still chase the old markers: house, car, retirement nest egg, and for some, that'll work. For many, the path looks different. Shared houses, remote work, side hustles, delayed family plans. That's not failure, it's adaptation. But it is also a reflection of a system that no longer hands out the same guarantees. So is the dream dead? Partly, it depends on how you define dream. If you mean the 1950s script, stable union job, single income household, mortgage paid off in a few years, then yes, that version is largely gone. If you mean the idea that people can build better lives than their parents, it's complicated. The latter still exists in places, but many rungs are missing. That's the crucial difference between a decline and a transformation. There are things that could bring the dream back for more people: better labor policy, housing reforms, education that connects to real jobs, stronger social safety nets, and fairer tax policy. That's the policy view. But there's also a cultural piece. Communities rebuilding trust, people embracing different definitions of success, and making real, local choices about what matters. Those small-scale changes add up. And here's something quietly hopeful. People are already doing it. They're starting businesses out of passion, growing local economies, moving to smaller towns, leaning into remote work, and valuing time over stuff. A dream that's more sustainable, more humane, and less about consumption might not trend on social media, but it might last longer. I'll leave you with this thought. Dreams evolve. The American dream was never a single script handed to every person. It was a mix of policy, culture, economy, and luck. If we want a dream that works for more people, it'll take policy, compassion, and imagination. And maybe a willingness to stop measuring success by the size of a house and start measuring it by the quality of life we actually live. If this hits you, comment below. What part of the dream do you miss? The security? The home? The simple faith that work meant progress? Or do you think the new dream, more freedom, less stuff, is better? Tell me one small change you'd make to get closer to that dream for more people.